I sit there in the quiet of our home, staring at the clock on the wall. 7 p.m. It's the time Richard always comes through the door after his long days. But tonight is different. Tonight, there's only the silence, a heavy silence that fills every corner of the room. The dinner I made sits untouched on the table, everything is just as it should be. Yet nothing feels right. Richard's death came so suddenly, a car accident. The kind of tragedy you hear about but never think will happen to you. The call from the hospital came just hours ago, and the doctor's voice, the same one who'd reassured me earlier in the week, sounded different now. "We're so sorry, Mrs. Hamilton, but we couldn't save him. I didn't catch the rest." What else was there to say? I hang up the phone, staring at the floor, feeling this cold grip around my chest. Richard had always been the steady one, the rock in my life. The man who never missed a beat. And now, he's gone. Before we move on, if you're feeling the weight of this story like I am, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. If you've ever faced something similar, I'd love to hear your story. Let's keep this conversation going. I'm still sitting at the table when I hear the familiar click of the front door opening. I look up, almost expecting to see him standing there, a smile on his face, holding his briefcase in one hand and the promise of a quiet night in his other. But no, there's just the stillness. The quiet. I've lived in this house with him for over 10 years. It was supposed to be the place where we'd grow old together, where we'd sit and laugh and have our golden years. But now, all I have are empty rooms and the scent of his cologne that lingers even though he's no longer here. And that's when I start to feel it. It's a strange sensation, one that creeps up on you quietly but unmistakably. Annoying, uncomfortable feeling. Something's off. Maybe it's the fact that Richard was always the one to keep things smooth, to make sure nothing ever disturbed our routine. But now, it feels like there's more I didn't know, more I missed. That feeling grows stronger the next day as I'm going through some of Richard's things. His office, his personal files. That's when I find it, the small wooden box sitting alone on his desk. It's not like anything I've seen before. I can't remember him ever mentioning it. Curiosity pushes me forward. I open the box and inside are documents. Not work-related stuff, not things I'd expect, just odd, scattered papers that don't make sense. They're full of unfamiliar names, places, and dates that don't match anything in the life I thought I knew. The air grows thick around me as I flip through the pages. With each document, my world starts to tilt just a little more. This isn't just business stuff. It's personal, it's secret, and I know right then there's no going back. What was Richard hiding from me? What was he really doing when he said he was working late? The questions swarm in my mind, but one thing is for sure, I need to know the truth, because I can't live with the uncertainty any longer. The day after I find the box, I can't stop thinking about it. The documents are all I can focus on, but each time I sit down to go through them, I hesitate. It's like I'm afraid to peel back the layers of this perfect life Richard and I built together, only to find that it was all a lie. But I can't help myself. The pull is too strong. So, with a deep breath, I open the wooden box again, the one Richard never once mentioned. The papers inside are scattered, some yellowed with age, others typed neatly in a way that feels too formal, too official. There's a mix of things: addresses, phone numbers, old business cards, and a few photos. As I flip through the first few, I feel my heartbeat quicken. They're pictures of Richard, sure, but not the Richard I knew. In some of them, he's not in his usual sharp suit. His hair is messier, his face unshaven, and he's standing next to a woman I don't recognize. She looks much younger than me, maybe in her late 20s or early 30s, with dark hair and strikingly sharp eyes. They're close, too close. Her hand resting on his arm, his head slightly tilted towards hers as if he's sharing a secret. In one photo, they're sitting together at what looks like a beach house, laughing. In another, they're at a ski resort, holding glasses of wine. I take in each image, my breath shallow, as the questions mount. Who is she? Why haven't I seen her before? And why did Richard never tell me about her? The last photo catches my eye. It's different from the others. It's recent. Taken last month, I think. I'm in the kitchen, preparing dinner for him, and I remember it clearly. He was out for a meeting, he'd told me, but in this photo, he's sitting at a cafe with the same woman, laughing with her and a man, who looks remarkably like him but younger. The timestamp is from 2 days before he came home that night to hand me the sapphire necklace, the one he'd promised he'd always love me. My hands tremble as I place the photo down. I try to push the feeling of betrayal down. I tell myself it's not what it seems. Maybe this woman is a colleague, someone from his past he'd stayed in touch with, but deep down, I know that's a lie. Something is terribly wrong here. I gather the courage to look at the documents more closely. There are bank statements, large sums of money transferred overseas, and letters from various firms, some I've never heard of, others marked urgent. None of it makes sense. None of it fits with the image of the man I thought I knew. I reach for a set of papers near the bottom. They're medical records. I freeze when I see the name at the top, Richard Hamilton. I scan the page, my eyes barely able to focus. The words blur in front of me, but I make them out. Cardiac condition, high risk of heart failure, stage 3, needs immediate intervention. Richard had a heart condition. I try to remember if he ever mentioned anything. He was always so calm, so healthy. He never seemed like someone who needed medical care beyond the usual checkups. But here it is, in black and white. And it's dated just 2 months ago. I set the papers down, my head spinning. How could I not have known about this? How could he keep something this important from me? Was he hiding this for his own sake or mine? I take a step back, trying to breathe through the sudden pressure in my chest. The house feels too small now, the walls closing in as if they, too, are part of the conspiracy. As I stand there, still in disbelief, I hear the sound of the front door opening. I turn, expecting to see Richard. But of course, it's just the wind. I'm alone. Suddenly, I feel something inside me shift. There's a fire growing in my chest, a fire that tells me I can't let this go. I can't let his secrets swallow me whole. I need answers, and I'm going to find them. The next day, I call the number I found on one of the business cards in the box. It rings once, twice, before a voice picks up. "Hello, this is Isabelle," she says, her voice smooth, too calm. I freeze. This is her, the woman in the pictures. "Isabelle," my words falter. What do I even say? Who are you to Richard? There's a pause on the other end, followed by a soft, almost pitying sigh. "I think you know exactly who I am." I swallow hard, suddenly feeling very small. This is it, the moment that will change everything. I try again, my voice shaking. Why didn't he tell me about you? Why didn't I know? Isabelle is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks again, her voice is colder, calculating. "Because he didn't want you to know. He was trying to protect you, Sophie, but I don't think he thought it would end like this." Her words hang in the air, heavy and full of meaning. Protect me from what? And from whom? Before I can ask more, she hangs up. I sit there, staring at the phone in my hand. I'm not sure what just happened, but I know one thing for sure. I've just scratched the surface of something so much bigger than I could have ever imagined. Richard was hiding a life from me, a whole world of secrets, lies, and hidden truths. And now, I'm standing on the edge of a revelation that could shatter everything I thought I knew about him. But I won't stop. I can't stop now, not when the truth is within my reach. The next few days blur together in a haze of confusion, anger, and disbelief. Isabelle's voice still lingers in my mind, like a ghost that won't leave. What did she mean by protecting me? From what exactly? The more I try to think about it, the more tangled everything becomes. I don't sleep much. I can't stop thinking about Richard, the man I thought I knew. All those years together, and yet, in the blink of an eye, I realize that I barely knew anything about him at all. The morning after my call with Isabelle, I sit down at Richard's desk, staring at the documents in front of me, but nothing feels clear. I need more answers. I need to know exactly who Isabelle is, what role she played in his life, and why she was kept so hidden from me. And then it hits me. If Richard's hiding things from me, there's a chance she isn't the only one involved. Maybe there's more to the story, more people connected to the web of secrets that he spun around me. But I can't be sure unless I confront the person who might know the most, Michael. I hadn't wanted to meet him. After all, how could I? He's the product of Richard's affair, the living evidence of everything he kept hidden. But now, the urge to know the full truth, to piece together the fragments of the man I thought I was married to, drives me forward. So, I call him. The phone rings twice before he picks up. Hello? His voice is soft, almost reluctant. He must have known this call was coming, but that doesn't stop the knot in my stomach from tightening. Michael, it's Sophie, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to meet with you. We need to talk. There's a pause on the other end. A long one. I can feel the tension mounting, but finally he speaks again. Yeah, I think it's time. We agree to meet at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. A quiet place with little chance of being disturbed. The moment I walk in, I see him. He's sitting by the window, looking out at the street, his face a mirror image of Richard's, same dark eyes, same sharp jawline, same posture. But there's something different about him. A rawness in his expression, a vulnerability I've never seen in Richard. He doesn't look up when I approach, so I take the seat across from him. For a moment, we just sit there, silent, as if neither of us knows where to begin. I didn't want to meet you like this, I say, my voice low, almost apologetic. I don't know why. He's the one who's been living a lie. But still, I feel an odd sort of sympathy for him. I know, he replies, finally meeting my gaze. His eyes are heavy with something I can't quite read, but it's there, sorrow, regret, maybe guilt. I never wanted you to find out like this. But Richard, he never told you, did he? I shake my head. No, I had no idea. How long? He exhales sharply. It's been years, since I was a kid. But he kept me separate from you, from everything. You never knew about me because he didn't want you to. His words hang in the air, heavy and thick. A part of me wants to scream, to ask him how he could be so calm about this, how he could sit there and talk about Richard as though everything were normal. But another part of me, another, quieter part, understands. What did you want from him? I ask, trying to keep the anger out of my voice. I need answers. I need to know everything, even if it hurts. Michael shifts in his seat, his eyes briefly flickering to the side before he responds. Nothing, at least not at first. But eventually I realized I needed him. He was the father I never had, and when Isabelle died, things changed. I started reaching out to him more. I thought, maybe he'd be the man I always wished for. My mind reels. Isabelle, she's gone. Another secret Richard kept from me. Why does it feel like everyone knew more than I did? Why does it feel like I've been the one left in the dark all these years? So what happens now? I ask, my voice shaking slightly. I try to mask it, but I know Michael can hear it. He's looking at me with this strange mix of sadness and pity, and I hate it. I hate that he feels sorry for me when it's Richard's fault. I don't know, he admits. I was supposed to get the truth from him. He promised me that once everything was out in the open, we could figure it out. But now that he's gone, I'm stuck with the mess he left behind. And so are you. The weight of his words hits me like a physical blow. A mess. That's all this is to him? To Michael, this is just a mess. To me, this is my entire life falling apart. This is the man I thought I married, the man who I thought was my world, now revealed as someone I don't even recognize. You're not the only one left with pieces to pick up, I say, barely above a whisper. I have to figure out how to move forward. I thought I knew everything about him, but now, everything feels like a lie. Michael nods, his face softening. I get it, I really do. But I need to be honest with you, Sophie. There's more, there's a lot more. Richard was involved in things, business things, dangerous things I don't even fully understand yet. My heart drops. What kind of things? I ask, barely able to force the words out. He looks around, almost as if he's afraid someone's listening, and leans in a little closer. I don't have all the answers, but I know he was involved in some pretty shady deals. And those people, those businesses, they don't forget. They're going to come looking for what Richard left behind, and they won't stop until they get it. A chill runs down my spine. I knew there was more to Richard's life than I had seen, but this is something entirely different, something much darker than I could have ever imagined. Do you know who they are? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Michael shakes his head. No, but we need to find out. If we don't, Sophie, we'll be the ones left picking up the pieces again. The days after meeting Michael are a blur. I spend hours combing through every scrap of paper Richard left behind, each document uncovering something darker than the last. But it's not until I find the will that everything shifts. The will, the one document Richard kept hidden, one I never thought I'd find, is now sitting in front of me. I didn't even know Richard had a will. I thought we'd done everything we needed to do, everything was in place, the house, the insurance, the savings. It was all supposed to be simple. But this is anything but simple. It's late at night when I find it. The yellowed envelope sits tucked in a drawer behind some old receipts. The seal is still intact, and I can feel the weight of it, heavy with things I wasn't supposed to know. I tear it open, my hands shaking, and pull out the single sheet of paper inside. The will isn't long. There's no mention of the house or the cars, no instructions on how the furniture should be divided. Instead, there's one line that jumps out at me, like a punch in the gut. All assets and holdings to be divided between Michael Hamilton and Isabelle Laurent. I stare at the words, rereading them over and over again. Michael, Isabelle, Richard's son, and the woman I knew almost nothing about, his secret family. They're the ones he's left everything to, everything. I can feel my stomach drop as the truth settles in. The home we shared, the life we built, it was never really ours. It was theirs too. I feel a storm building in my chest, a rage I didn't know I had. How could he do this? How could he leave me, the woman he supposedly loved, with nothing but this paper, this betrayal? I knew about Isabelle, I knew about Michael, but to see it written out like this, in black and white, hits me harder than I could have ever imagined. But the will doesn't stop there. I flip to the next page, and there, in the margins, there's a note. It's written in Richard's familiar handwriting, the letters elegant but hurried, as if he had to get this down quickly. Sophie, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer here. I want you to know that I never wanted you to find out like this. The truth is, I loved you more than anything, but I couldn't let you in. I couldn't bring you into this world I created outside of you. I know this will hurt you, but I need you to understand that everything I did to protect you from it all. Please, forgive me if you can. The words are like a slap, cold and raw. He loved me, but he couldn't bring me into his secret world. What kind of love is that? He knew I wouldn't understand. He knew I wouldn't forgive him, and still, he left me this cruel note that changes everything. I sit there for a long time, the will and the note in front of me, my mind racing, my heart pounding. But then a thought strikes me, one I can't shake. If Richard left everything to Michael and Isabelle, why did I still feel like there was more? Was there something else, something he hadn't told me about, something even bigger than the inheritance? I need answers. I need to know if there's more to this story than just the money, than just the betrayal. And I can feel it in my gut. There's something I'm missing, something crucial that Richard kept from me until the very end. I need to confront Rachel. I haven't seen her since the funeral, and every time I think about her, I feel a tightness in my chest. Rachel has always been the one who stood by me, my sister, my best friend. But now, I don't know what to believe anymore. I pick up the phone and dial her number, the words slipping out before I can stop them. Rachel, we need to talk. There's a brief pause, and then she answers, her voice soft, almost too calm. Of course, where do you want to meet? We decide on a small cafe downtown. It's the kind of place we've gone to for years, where we used to sit and talk for hours about everything and nothing. I can almost picture us there, like nothing has changed, but everything has changed. The thought of sitting across from her, knowing what I know now, feels like it might suffocate me. When I arrive, I spot her right away. She's sitting at a corner table, sipping from a cup of coffee. She looks calm, composed, too composed. I sit down, taking a deep breath. My hands are clenched in my lap, but I don't let her see it. I won't let her see how much she's shaking me. Rachel, I know about the will, about everything. Her eyes darken, but she doesn't look away. I didn't take anything from you. You were the one who didn't see it. You were the one who was too blind to look beyond the surface, beyond the perfect life he painted for you. I'm just the one who was there when you were. I want to scream. I want to hit her to tell her everything I've been holding in. But instead, I stand up, my hands shaking, my heart ready to break open. You never wanted me to know the truth, Rachel. And now, neither of us can escape it. I turn to walk away, but her voice stops me. Don't you want to know the whole truth, Sophie? She asks. Her tone is quiet, but it's enough to make me freeze. There's still more, and once you know it, you won't be able to go back. I don't turn around, I can't. But her words linger, haunting me. What else is there? What has Richard hidden that could make everything I've learned so far seem insignificant? The air feels thicker as I walk out of the cafe, the weight of Rachel's words still pressing heavily on my chest. There's still more. She didn't say much, but her silence spoke louder than anything. I don't know what it is, but whatever Richard hid, it's worse than I could have imagined. Worse than the will, worse than the pictures, worse than the lies. I feel a strange mix of anger and resolve bubbling inside me. I'm done being the victim of this twisted web Richard wove around me. I don't care if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Rachel's cryptic words echo in my mind as I head home, but I can't shake the feeling that time is running out. I need to act fast. I need to uncover what Richard left behind, the hidden pieces of his life that he thought I'd never find. And as much as I hate to admit it, Michael is the key. He's the one who might know more than he's letting on, the one who could help me understand why Richard chose to keep me in the dark. I call Michael. The phone rings, and when he picks up, his voice is cautious, almost hesitant. Sophie. Michael, I say, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. I need to meet. There's something I have to ask you. He hesitates for a moment, but then responds. Okay, I'll be at the old library in an hour, come alone. It's a strange request. Why would he want to meet at an old, dusty library of all places? But I don't question it. I'm past the point of caring about anything other than finding the truth. When I arrive, the place is just as forgotten as it sounds. The library is quiet, old books lining the shelves, the faint smell of mildew hanging in the air. Michael is waiting for me, sitting at a table in the back corner. His face is shadowed by the dim light, but I can see the strain in his eyes. Sophie, he says, his voice low as I approach. I didn't want you to get dragged into this, but it's too late now. You're already here, and you deserve to know what Richard really left behind. I sit down across from him, my heart pounding in my chest. Tell me everything, Michael. I'm done being in the dark. What did Richard do? What did he get involved in? Michael looks around, as if making sure no one is listening. Then, he leans forward, his voice barely above a whisper. Richard wasn't just running a business. He was involved in something much darker. I didn't understand it fully, not until I started digging after Isabelle died. There were names, transactions, companies that didn't exist on paper, but the money was real. So was the danger. I can feel my stomach churn as his words sink in. Danger? What kind of danger? He glances over his shoulder, then sighs. Richard was involved with people who didn't play by the rules. People who were willing to do anything to protect their interests. He thought he could control it, keep it all separate, but it got out of hand. And now, they know about you, they know about me, and they won't stop until they get what they want. I can feel my blood run cold at the thought. What do they want? Power, he says quietly. Money, and access to the things Richard kept hidden. Things that, if anyone knew about, could ruin everything. I lean back in my chair, trying to process it all. The shock of it is almost too much to handle. My husband wasn't just hiding a secret life. He was entangled in something criminal, something dangerous. And now, I'm a part of it. I need to know more. I need to understand how deep this runs, how far Richard went to protect us or destroy us. Where are the documents? I ask, my voice steady. The ones Richard left, the ones that could explain all of this. Michael pauses, looking down at the table, his fingers tapping nervously. I don't know everything, but I know one thing. Richard hid the most important things in a safe, a vault, and he left me the key. The words hit me like a jolt. A vault? He had a vault. Why would Richard need a safe for the most important parts of his life, if not to protect secrets too big for anyone to know? Where is it? I ask, leaning forward, urgency creeping into my voice. I don't know where it is, he admits, but I think it's connected to the company, the offshore accounts, the money that's been moving around. Richard trusted no one with this. Not even me, not at first. But after Isabelle died, I started piecing things together. I think I can find it, but I need your help. I nod. I don't care about the past anymore. I don't care who's been lying to me. I just need to find that vault. I need to understand what Richard was hiding and how it all connects to everything he kept from me. We'll find it, I say, the determination in my voice unwavering. We'll find the vault and we'll take control of this. I'm done being powerless. Michael nods, his face hardening with resolve. I'm with you, Sophie, but we need to act fast. If we don't, the people who are after Richard's secrets will be on us next. And with those words, a new chapter begins. I've been living in the shadows of Richard's lies, but now I'm taking back the power. I'm not going to let anyone destroy what's left of my life. We leave the library, the weight of what we're about to do hanging over us. I don't know how this will end, but I know one thing for sure. I'm not going to stop until I uncover everything. The days that follow are a whirlwind of preparations. Michael and I barely have time to breathe before we're thrown into the deep end of a world I never knew existed, one of hidden vaults, offshore accounts, and shadowy figures that are always just one step behind us. The weight of it all feels heavier than I could have ever imagined. But I'm here now, and there's no turning back. We've tracked down the location of Richard's vault. It's hidden in an old storage facility on the outskirts of town, a place that's been abandoned for years, tucked away behind rusted fences and crumbling buildings. It feels almost surreal, standing there in front of it. The place is silent, save for the distant hum of the city. Michael has the key, Richard's key, and when he places it in the lock and turns it, the door creaks open with a groan, as though it's been waiting for someone to unlock it. Inside is a small room, dimly lit, but I can already see the shelves stacked high with boxes and files, each one likely holding answers I've been desperate for. The vault is exactly what Richard left behind for us, a testament to the life he couldn't share, to the secrets he kept buried. I step inside, Michael following close behind. He's quiet, almost solemn, as he starts pulling down boxes and rifling through them, looking for anything that might give us a clue. My eyes scan the room, but my heart is already racing as I reach for the first file on the shelf. It's thick, bound with red tape, and when I open it, the pages are filled with contracts, names, and dates, none of which make sense to me at first. But I feel the significance of each word, the weight of the decisions Richard made, decisions that are now in my hands. Then I see it, one name that stands out like a red flag, Gordon Blake. I've heard that name before. He's one of the people Michael mentioned, one of the dangerous people Richard tried to shield us from. My pulse quickens as I flip through the file. I can feel Michael's eyes on me as I scan the documents. He knows what I'm thinking. Gordon Blake is the key to everything, and if we want to end this, if we want to truly understand the depth of Richard's betrayal, we have to confront him. Michael, I whisper, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. We need to go after Blake. He's the one pulling the strings. Everything's connected to him. Michael nods. I've been waiting for you to say that. We can't keep running from this. It's time to end it. The plan is set. But as I stand there, surrounded by all these secrets, I feel a sharp pang of loss. Richard, my husband, the man I loved, wasn't who I thought he was, and the truth of that is almost too much to bear. But the more I see of what he left behind, the more I understand. He wasn't protecting me, he was trying to protect himself. I close the file, the weight of it pressing down on me. This is it, the final chapter. The answers are here, and so is the danger. But for the first time in what feels like forever, I'm not afraid. I'm ready. The day of the confrontation with Gordon Blake arrives faster than I expected. Michael and I drive to the place we've been hearing about, the same rundown building where Blake is supposed to be waiting. It's an industrial area, desolate and quiet, the perfect place for deals to be made in the dark. As we approach the building, I can feel my nerves fraying, but I push them down. This isn't just about Richard anymore. This is about me, about my future. about the pieces of my life I've been left to pick up. It's time to take control. We enter the building, the cold air pressing against us as we walk into the dimly lit room. Gordon Blake is sitting at a table in the center, a man of striking calm. He looks like someone who's always in control, like someone who's never had to answer for anything. He looks up when we step inside, his eyes narrowing as he assesses us. "Sophie Hamilton," he says, his voice smooth, almost too smooth. "I wondered when you'd show up. I don't flinch, I'm done being afraid." "You don't get to play with people's lives anymore, Blake," I say, my voice clear, unwavering. "I know everything. I know about the offshore accounts, the illegal deals, and I know you've been pulling Richard's strings for years. And now it's over." Blake chuckles, leaning back in his chair, clearly amused. "You think you're in control now. You think just because you've got some paperwork and a key that you can take me down. You're out of your depth, Sophie." I step forward, my fists clenched, but I keep my voice calm. "Maybe I am, but I have something you don't: leverage. And trust me, I'm not afraid to use it." I reach into my bag and pull out the flash drive. The one with all the evidence, every illegal transaction, every shady deal, all neatly stored away. The thing Blake didn't count on. "Here's the thing, Gordon," I say, my voice steady but full of conviction. "If you don't back off, if you don't leave me and Michael alone, this goes straight to the authorities. Everything. You'll lose everything." His face hardens, but I can see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He knows I'm serious. He knows this isn't just an empty threat. "Fine," he says after a long pause, his tone begrudging. "You win this round. But don't think this is over, Sophie. There's always someone else waiting to take my place." I nod, feeling a sense of finality wash over me. It doesn't matter. I'm done being a pawn in your game. As we leave the building, Michael looks at me with a sense of quiet pride, but I can feel the weight of everything still pressing on my chest. This isn't the end. Not yet, but it's a new beginning. A beginning where I'm no longer living in the shadow of lies. The road ahead is uncertain, but for the first time,